Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are with UrbanDigs. And today, Johnny, we are talking Manhattan, and we got a good one. We got Rick Kelly, founder of Alta Real Estate, veteran broker, has achieved well over 500 plus deals all over the city. World traveler. This guy knows everything about everything everywhere, and he gets right to the point when he's talking about it. And we got him here today for about 15 minutes. And Rick, I'm going to come right at you. We got a
Yeah.
lot of agents out there, a lot of real estate enthusiasts trying to figure out what is going on in New York City. So I'm going to ask you flat out, what is the state of the New York City markets today?
I'm going to get to that in 1 second. I just want to say thank you guys for inviting me on Urban Digs. I have all of our agents, read your reports, look at your data every week, and you guys are a real asset for the industry. And aside from that,
Awesome.
you actually make data a little sexy. You're like the Colbert and Baptiste of data. So.
I love it. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you. That's very kind.
Okay, so by the way, this is a great time to be doing the interview as opposed to the dead of winter. So it's spring in Manhattan. Everything is new again. It's early, but it's active. I think buyers are anxious to see new inventory, and sellers, even that have been on the market for a while, are getting the benefit of those new looks. We have had offers, just our firm has had offers in the past 2 or 3 weeks on some things that have been brand new. This week, for instance, we put something into contract after one showing, right? Per your graph about pricing things, right? And then on some other things that we've had on for actually over a year, we've had accepted offers on. And we even had one crazy deal in Murray Hill where we got two offers within 72 hours on something that had been sitting there for a year. So the buyers are back. That doesn't mean they're going to jump on the first thing that they see, but I think it's active and there's a lot of optimism for the market for the spring.
That is really interesting, Rick. I'm starting to hear this anecdotally from a lot of agents. I just want to ask one follow-up question. I'm hearing that even unrenovated properties, which for years have not got a bid due to I guess, the perceived inflation and I just don't want to do the work kind of a thing. I'm hearing that these properties that were lingering and getting penalized, they're starting to get a bid too. Are you seeing something similar?
Yeah, the thing is, if you're on the market right now and you're not crazily overpriced, you could be slightly over market. You're going to get looks. And that wasn't the case even, 6 months ago. So I think it's a factor of spring optimism and, of course, lack of inventory. But yeah, we've noticed that too. We've had some, turnkey properties, obviously they're getting looks, but also some stuff that needs some work. And people are, I think people are up for the conversation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I like to follow up on you talked about doing a deal in Murray Hill, and Murray Hill is one of those areas. It's not quite uptown, it's not quite downtown. So I'm curious, like, at what price point was this? What sort of buyer is this? Is it condo co-op? Like, how did that deal come into action?
This was a beginner property. It's co-op, full service co-op. We're at $500,000. We'd had a couple of deals on this a year ago, and then it was silenced. And then a number of other things traded within the building. This building actually had an insurance issue where there was a claim against the building, and a lot of buyers' attorneys were scared away from that. So we actually had two buyers' attorneys kill deals. And so we held on till spring. We did a minor price cut. And then, the person that came to see it had seen it before we made the price cut. And so it was a combination of a slight price cut. And I think just the fact that, limited inventory, and we found the right buyer.
Yeah, that's interesting. And there's another follow-up. I kind of want to, move into the next section here, which is, you talked about this is sort of a starter kind of place. So there's definitely a particular buyer for that. You talked about the building having insurance problems. And it's one of these cases that really it makes it difficult to kind of work in New York City. And we hear from agents outside the city. We hear from agents inside the city. Oh, it's either the best place to work or it's the worst place to work. And I'm curious what your thought is on working in New
I
York
could
City.
give a whole seminar on why New York City is hands down the best market to work in the world, and not just in the States, but in the world. I'll give you a few bullet points. Highest price point, right? So let's just say you're Tom Brady, right? You could do flag football or you could do the NFL. For really good and excellent professionals, like I hope most of the people watching are, you're going to get paid more for the same services that you do in Atlanta, Nashville, Austin, LA. So higher price points, higher volume. 2 years ago, there was 30,000 trades in the 5 boroughs. So, even if you had a 1% market share, that's 300 listings in 1 year. So just the volume is there, which is amazing. Also high density, right? There's 8 million potential clients, either rental or purchase clients. It's a vertical city. You can go into a building, and if you do one sale, before you know it, you can have 2, 3, 4 things going in all within an elevator ride. You don't have that in other markets. Also the richest city in the world. So, in terms of your high earners, these people demand excellent service. And if you're on your game, there is a hustle vacuum, and there is also an enthusiasm vacuum. So if you're the kind of guy that can really outperform your competitors, there are people, very, very deep-pocketed people that want your help to buy their apartment. So that's also amazing. Then just to rattle off a few other things, there's a high dropout of agents. If you stick through this, if you're a newer agent, you can get through the first 6, 9 months, you get your first deal, you are on your way because everybody else is quitting. So in some ways, it's ruthless, but it's the truth. If you can stick in there and do it, it's not only it's a high reward at the end of this, when you really know your game, but in the beginning, if you just got the guts to stick it out, it's an amazing place. And New York really rewards hustle, and it rewards perseverance.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
That
I'd
was
like to have a
awesome.
T-shirt that says "Hustle Vacuum." I think that's a great phrase.
It's true. It's true.
I wanna go on the other side of the spectrum and hear about what's the worst part of doing business in New York City.
Look, you got 14,000 agents, right? And it seems like even the busboy can show you a rental. That's just how it is. But I would say that, and if you're doing co-ops, it's that extra level of stress and not knowing if the deal is really going to be a deal. For those of us that do co-op deals and have had some luck, you get through that just by, quite honestly, over-qualifying your buyers, making sure there's no chance, in heck that those people are going to be rejected. But aside from that, I would just say, it's the weather, it's all the other stuff that people over 30 bitch about.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's an amazing city, and I have very little negative. Some of the things that are going on with the city in general can be challenging. Sometimes the transportation doesn't work. Sometimes flip taxes are a pain. Sometimes increased maintenance charges. But New York City is a voluntary city. Nobody has to live here. You could live in the burbs if you want to. If you're in here, if you're in the city, it's because you like the juice, you like the action, you like the
Yeah.
people. So again, I just say it's 100% voluntary. And for those people that are here, they're willing to put up with all of that just to be part of this story.
Yeah, there's a certain culture and vibe here, and those that like it, they dig it really, really well. Going east to west, right? That's one of the worst things. I mean, I gotta go. Hey, you're on 51st on the east side. Oh, I'm on 51st on the west side. All right, I'll see you about 3 hours from now.
That's the worst. But by the way, I'll give you a little hint. Anytime a broker tells you they're 1 block away, it means they're 5 blocks away.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly.
yes, of course.
I've done that before. I have to wait for the light for about 10 minutes. I just want to, you mentioned something about the competitive nature of the professional real estate industry. There's a lot of agents out there going for just 5,000 listings with a lot of people, but not a lot of active inventory. How do you differentiate yourself from the other agent competition in New York City?
I think it's pretty simple. You need to have an opinion. You don't need to be a weather girl or a weatherman. Don't just read the reports and spout off what you guys are saying or what another famous agent is saying on Instagram, whatever. You need to have your own opinion. You need to go out there. You need to see the inventory. And if it's a contrary opinion, quite honestly, it's even more valuable than if you're just going along with the tide. I saw, a few different articles this week. Most of them were kind of positive. Ray, let's go spring. And the one that I paid attention to, that the one was slightly less positive, saying prices are down a little bit on things that are going into contract. So I think people are intelligent, and the only way to be outstanding is to have your opinion stand out from the rest of the crowd. So I would advise anybody, veteran agents, and also, of course, new agents, to find your own voice and to say something that's unique. That's how you can differentiate yourself.
Interesting. And the other thing is, Rick, I mean, you just talked, in the previous answer, you talked about how it's perseverance and hustle, and if you can stick through that, and you can start growing. And you've done a fantastic job of that, and you've got your own firm, you've got your own team, And I think a lot of agents out there are really looking to make that jump, and they really want to start bringing on a team member. And I'd love to ask you, like, what's the most important factor in hiring a team member? What kind of roles and in what order do you have to kind of hire to start really growing your business?
I'll do a brief plug for our business, for Alta Real Estate. We literally have more business than we have agents right now, and we are hiring. So if anybody out there wants more business, wants to keep more of what you make, definitely give me a call. We also have a career page on our website. And if you're looking to build a team, if you're with us, we will also help you build a team. So put the plug aside. I'll move on to answer your question. Number one thing would be like-minded, right? You have to find somebody that's like-minded. You need to have somebody that has shared values. And you also need to know what your role and your strengths are, right? You could be a marketing guru, you could be a connector, you could be a rainmaker, right? You need to be pretty clear about who you are first. I interviewed an agent that might be coming to our firm this past week, and they have a very successful team in Brooklyn, and it was a perfect marriage. The guy that I spoke to was the operations guy of the team, and his partner was the rainmaker. That's a perfect combination, right? You have the guy that's doing the books and doing the systems, more of an analytical guy, and the other guy is on the phone, driving around, looking at properties, talking to people. So that's a perfect marriage. But for sure, I would say most important is going to be like-minded and shared values. If you're the kind of person to where an agent or a buyer texts you at 7:30 at night and you get back to them in 2 seconds, 3 seconds, that's how I am. I know a lot of people, a lot of us like that are like that. But then if you hire somebody, you partner with somebody that gets back to that email the next morning, there's going to be a very high frustration level. So your communications in terms of when you hire or when you decide to partner up with somebody, I think that's very important. Communication is everything, not just in the seller, buyer, agent relationship, but also agent to agent relationship. And then the last thing that I would say is that don't be so quick to do the whole team thing, right? You should only do it if you have a weakness that can be helped by hiring another person, by partnering with somebody else. But if you want just to name a team, you don't necessarily need to join someone else to do that. And quite honestly, unless you're so busy that you don't have enough time to service your own clients, you shouldn't be having a team. You should get yourself and your book of business up to the point to where you really need somebody, whether it be an intern, it could be a virtual assistant, or maybe a partner. But again, this is a business. I would really think about all the rules in terms of as it relates to hiring or partnering with somebody. Let's just say you pick up somebody in an open house, right? And you're both sharing the listing. I take that person out, I land them a deal. Are we also doing 50-50 on that deal? Oh, and then my client introduced me to his niece who's got a rental downtown. Do I continue doing 50-50 on that third deal? Like, you need to have all the stuff really mapped out, because some people, unfortunately, as it relates to money, don't discuss it till the deal is in their hand, and then there's a lot of stress. So the more you can map out exactly how far down the road these relationships work, splits, things like that, what your role is in the team, and what the other person's role is in the team, the more forethought and planning you do on that, the better it's going to be.
I mean, this is a masterclass so far. I mean, Rick, you're just laying it out. I mean, it's really
I love
amazing.
it.
And I want to put you on the spot because I think you mentioned something really, really interesting, which is you want to find someone who building a team, you want to find someone who complements your weakness. And I'm curious, how do you go about identifying your weakness? How, as an agent, can you say, you know what, I need help here? Is there any tricks that to kind of identify like where your sore points are?
There's the whole disc profile thing, which tells you there's, a few different personality types, what you are. I think, do you like talking to people? Are you nervous of new introductions, things like that? First of all, if you're afraid of picking up the phone, you probably shouldn't be in sales, because that's like number one. You have to be comfortable talking to strangers. That's the only way you expand your book of business. But in terms of, I think most people know, oh, I'm really good in person. I'm really good on the phone. I'm really good at analyzing the market, the data. I would say that probably your first answer internally is the right answer. Like if a lot of people that come into the business, they're afraid to pick up the phone. Again, I think that could be an existential problem. But let's just say you can't get on the phone. Maybe what you need is scripts, right? Everybody has something that can be helped by somebody that's done it before. And none of us are reinventing the wheel, right? There's been agents selling properties for hundreds of years in different countries. And of course, in New York City, that's been the case. And although the business changes slightly from year to year and with new technology, it's essentially the same thing. We're looking to help somebody buy something, or we're looking to help somebody sell something. And we are a connector. We're helping to put those two sides together. And in terms of, what your strength is, it's hard to tell people what their strength is, but I think people are either gregarious, they're an analytical person, they're an emotional person, right? You kind of have to figure what your lane is and then lean into it. Don't try to that whole thing about just work on your weaknesses. I think that's BS. I think you should lean into your strengths, and you should hire or help or team with other people that address your weaknesses.
Yeah, it's tough. Psychologically speaking, us humans, we don't like to really look ourselves in the mirror and say, what are we bad at?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do psychologically. We don't like to face those kind of things, but you know what? It really is an amazing thought experiment to go through.
For those of us that are married, that's why we're married.
That's true. I can argue that. But if you could achieve that, and figure out what your weaknesses are and fill and bridge those gaps and focus on bringing someone in, it's going to take you someplace. I want to follow up as well really quickly. Paul Anand, my good friend Paul Anand, he's over at Brown Harris. You talked about splits and commissions and having everything mapped out as you're building your team. He always told me when he was building his team, you got to incentivize your people. A lot of people building teams and agents, they don't create those splits in an incentive-oriented way. And that leads to dead ends, and that leads to no motivation. You got to really have your people incentivized to work their butt off and get those deals. If that means you're making a little bit at the end, the idea is volume, right? It'll get made up with a bigger team and more listings.
Our entire firm is based around that.
Yeah.
I was a broker for many years. I was at Elliman for 16 years, Corcoran for a few, and then before I started Alta, I would be lucky to get a deal. I mean, not a deal, a lead every year or two. Just those big firms are not in the business of supplying leads. I think most agents know how to close a deal. They know how to show a property, right? They know how to do an open house. They know how to do the actual business of real estate brokerage. The toughest part for them is getting leads. That is something I happen to be very good at, and that's I spend all of my time on. So at least in our firm anyways, leads are not the issue, and actually closing them are not that much of an issue either if the agents are willing to, listen to advice and to listen to other opinions. But for sure, it's a challenge if you're with big box, and let's just say your splits are, I don't know how much inside baseball we want to get here, but let's just say most top splits in the industry are around 70%. If you're at 70% and you want to hire an agent that's going to be part of your team, and let's just say you're even okay with taking a 30% of whatever the net is, that means the best that they can times 70, which is 50%. So that is the best. And a lot of agents, unfortunately, and a lot of teams, it's not that they don't want to incentivize their teammates. It just by the constrictions of them being a big box, they can't go any higher in their splits, or it's not profitable for them. So that's why I'm an advocate of boutique brokers.
Yeah, it's like you got to get over that hump, right? You got to get over that hump. It's like once you get over it, then it makes sense. But until it's there, it's kind of a grind. All right, I want to move on here. I got a couple of questions left. I want to ask you. You were talking about teams and members and hiring people. What do you think is the most valuable skill that an agent can offer their clients today?
Be a truth teller. Don't be afraid to call it as you see it. I'm having a conversation with a client today. We came on the market. It's been a month or so. I advocated for them to get the tenant out because it was just an awful show. We've done that now, but we've had a lot of showings and just nobody's bit yet. So it's the 30-day mark. When I was younger, I used to kick that forward and say, oh, well, maybe the market will get better. But in the first 30 or 45 days, you kind of know where you are relative. If you don't get any second showings, if you don't get any offers, then you probably need a price improvement, right? So have the courage to tell your clients, hey, the market is giving us feedback. It's much better to make this price adjustment early on while we still have attention, right? Because at some point, buyers are going to write us off if we've been on 90, 120 days, et cetera. So having the courage to tell your clients that and to come from a place of empathy is really what's going to serve them. It serves your best interests if you're honest. And I would say that may come with confidence. the longer that you're in the industry. But if you're a truth teller, even if you're wrong, people are going to respect the fact that, you had the cojones to tell it like it is. So I would say that's number one, not only as you're talking to sellers, but also buyers too. Agents come to me sometime and say, what do I do with this lowball buyer? I say, you got to sit down and talk to them and say, do you want to buy a property? Do you want to transact in New York City? Well, here's what's going to take. Making an offer 10% below the ask on something that's fairly priced is not going to be a successful strategy, right? So just telling people things that they don't want to hear is going to make them respect you more. And it does serve them as well, because it helps them actually transact.
I love it. And we're
Awesome.
whining.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's actually how Noah and I met. I mean, a long time ago. I think a lot of people have heard the story, but I love it. So I'm going to do a quick version of it. So back when Noah and I met, I think it was like 2008, and I was looking to buy an apartment. Noah was my broker, and he's like, I wouldn't buy anything right now. And I was thinking to myself, what? You're not supposed to say that. And it turns out he was right. He's like, look,
I was a bad
credit spreads
broker.
are widening. It looks like things are rocky. I think prices are going to come down. I was like, oh, this is not what I've been hearing. So total ditto. And I want to get into one more thing, Rick, because we always like to close on this. What strategic tips or advice would you give to agents out there who are trying to up their game and up their production?
Number one, extend yourself more, right? It's a numbers game. The more people that know you, the more chances you have to transact. So extend yourself more, meaning make more phone calls, go to more events, get out there, be a little nervous, be a little uncomfortable. You know you're going to win because the leading indicator is that you're a little bit uncomfortable. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable, you're probably going to be making deals. Number two, I would say track what's meaningful, right? You can't just say, oh, I don't know why my business isn't great or why my pipeline dried up. You have to look. And you have to get a CRM. We use Follow Up Boss, by the way, but you have to have a CRM that tracks your phone calls. So you can say, well, holy cow, I called 20 people last week. Well, you should be doing 20 or 25 calls a day, right? For new business. Okay. So if you can't track that, then it's all kind of touchy feely, emotional, and that's not going to serve you very well. So track what's meaningful. What's important. I would say at the top of that list would be phone calls. Number three would be compete where you know you're going to fail. Right. I'm working on my shoulder right now. I hurt myself in tennis last summer, and I'm trying to get it back. And my trainer told me something that, occasionally you have these moments of insider wisdom, and it goes ding, 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 ding. And he says, yeah, man. He said, Rick, you got to fail to grow. That's how it works in therapy. And I thought, oh my God, isn't that the case in real estate? So I made my bones by marketing to buildings that were way out of my price range. And then I eventually got lucky and I started to do $4, $5, $6 million and higher stuff when other people at my level, a year or two in the business, were still doing, $500,000, $600,000, small co-ops, and which is great. But it just, for me, I was like, I wanted to do something bigger. So I highly encourage new agents to go where you're going to fail. Number one, you're going to learn. You're going to improve, and next time you're definitely going to do it better. So I would definitely, you don't hope to fail, but go, pitch that $10 million listing, because then it makes you think, well, what would I have to do to win that $10 million listing? And before you know it, you're reinventing yourself. You're reinventing your pitch package. You're reinventing your bio. You're taking no photographs. You're molding yourself to match the situation. So that's why it's very important to overshoot, especially in real estate. Pick up the damn phone. I think everybody can agree with that. Definitely pick up the phone and call people, right? If you're not talking real estate 1-2 hours a day, then what else are you doing, right? You're watching YouTube? What else? Go see more properties. You can't know the market just by looking at properties on StreetEasy or Real Plus or whatever. It's like online dating. Everything looks beautiful online, but that's not the case. You go in, you go, holy crap. There is, a wall right in the middle of the master bedroom, which they didn't show the picture of. Or this kitchen looks like it's, something from the 1800s. Like, you're not going to see that in the marketing. You have to go, and then you really know what the market is, right? I know if you look at 50 apartments, you're going to come away and you're going to have at least one you say there's no way in hell they're going to sell. And you're going to come away with one that says, I wish I had the money to buy that myself. That's how enthused I am about that. So you can't know the market just by sitting on your butt and looking at the laptop. So for sure, get out there, and who knows, you might meet some money too.
Rick, we started out talking about the vibe and the certain type of person that loves New York City. You got New York City just oozing out of you, man. The energy level that's coming from you,
Totally.
it's admirable. It's a trait that helps in this business. And you mentioned something, failing. I just want to. A lot of people fail and they lose focus and they lose motivation and they kind of quit and they say this is not for me. But there's no growing without failing. I mean, John and I have this conversation at least a couple of times a month of how much, and we still do it, how much we failed. If you could just learn from what you failed, why you failed, and either avoid that or tweak that, it's like this whole success is a matter of putting the puzzle together and learning from the failures. And if you can get over that, you will start doing all the right things and you're going to have
Yeah.
success,
And
you know? So,
by the way, you're never a failure unless you give up, right? You just
yeah, I
it's just
mean, don't
like,
give up.
yeah, don't give up. And you're just because you haven't won today doesn't mean you're not going to win.
It, sorry, if you're an agent out there that is wants to do this and the business is not coming, align yourself with the team. I mean, Rick even said he's hiring. I mean, there are teams with business coming in that are looking to hire. We are an independent, neutral show, so I'm sure there's other companies and other firms doing it as well. But there are ways to expedite the whole curve in this business. And I highly encourage it. Find someone that works for you and is giving you business and you're learning and growing at the same time.
And
You know,
find somebody that's making money. If you have somebody that's on Instagram telling you how, to make $100,000, in a month or whatever, you need to make sure they know how to do it. Do not align yourself with anybody who's actually not still in the game. So I would
yeah,
say, in this case, in my company, I'm a player/coach. I'm still transacting and I'm also, doing the administrative stuff, the CEO work. But I'll tell you, it's rough and it's a tough job. It's a lot of rejection. And you need to have a thick skin. And it's a lot easier
yeah.
to weather those no's when you have people that are, next to you saying, go get him. You're great. You're wonderful. I know you're going to get the next one. So having support, having camaraderie is very important to success.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
This has been great. This has been great. This has been fun, and I'm ready to attack the day right now. I got the energy
Yeah,
level
me
up.
too.
So,
Let's go,
thank,
guys.
thank you,
By the
John
way, I saw
Walkup.
you change your website again for the
No, I didn't.
better.
Did I?
You
Oh, did
guys
I?
are,
Okay.
you guys are like New York City, always improving, always changing. I love it.
Yeah, and it's still not where it needs to be. I'm sure there's like
No.
5 more changes coming. We'll figure it out at some
Yeah.
point. This has been great. Thank you, John Walkup, Rick Kelly, Alta Real Estate. Thank you so much for your time. I am Noah Rosenblatt. This has been Talking Manhattan, and we will catch you guys next time.
See you guys.